Hello and welcome back to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Welcome to Wellington, Colorado, and welcome to another highway range test. This is another vehicle we'll be running in our 70 mile per hour highway range test series. It is the Kia EV6. It's the all-wheel drive 77.4 kilowatt hour version. I'm going to tell you all about our testing procedures. We're then going to run the vehicle from here in Wellington, Colorado, up probably into Nebraska, turn around, and then come back and see how far it goes on a single charge at 70 miles an hour. The weather in terms of temperature is amazing. It's in the low 70-degree range. Absolutely stunning for late March here in Colorado. However, this is the wind trim Kia EV6, and of course, in fitting fashion, it is quite windy outside. So we'll talk about the test, we'll talk about the setup, we'll talk about everything like this, and I'm so looking forward to seeing how far this car goes on a single charge in our usual 70 mile per hour highway loop style test. This is a 2022 Kia EV6 all-wheel drive. Now, we have been lucky enough to drive EV6 before and spend plenty of time with its sister car, both built on the eGMP chassis, the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Now, with the Kia EV6, we experienced a European spec version that was tuned a little bit differently than the US spec cars, according to Kia. So this is genuinely my first day with the vehicle. It's the perfect weather to get some range testing done, aside from some wind, but we'll talk about how we can do our best to counteract that. And let's take a look around it. We have what kind of tires are on this thing? Kumho Scooching HP 71s. They're 235/55 R19s. I'm not seeing that they're an electric specific tire anywhere, but it looks pretty good on the 19-inch wheels. This is, of course, the wind trim in the EV6, which is sort of the mid-spec. There is a GT line available that gives you a little bit more features above this. Now, if you're curious what it's like to road trip an EV6 in the US, my colleague Jordan actually went on a road trip with another wind, actually our friend Ahmad's car, where he bought it in Wisconsin and took it to Texas, down to Dallas, and that is on our sister channel, Out of Spec Motoring. But let's take a look around this car. It looks pretty good. Of course, it's got the 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack. It has 2 electric motors, and what this is able to do is actually disconnect the front motor in rear wheel drive mode, or I should say in eco mode, to make it rear wheel drive only. Now, there is a caveat to that. You can't use the I-pedal, the one pedal drive program, when you're doing that. You actually have to run it in one of the 0, 1, 2, or 3 regen settings. Otherwise, it will keep the front motor disconnected. I sadly learned this after my Hyundai Ioniq 5 highway range test that we did in the exact same spot in a little bit different temperature conditions. What I was really hoping to do was actually run the Ioniq 5 and this side by side, and perhaps we'll do some efficiency testing like that into the future, but there's so many cool videos we want to make with this car. And Timon, one of my colleagues, actually took this skiing, which was pretty neat. So what we're going to do in the test is we've of course set the tire pressures to the factory rated 36 PSI, which is pretty low for an electric vehicle, I have to say. Typically we see them in that 40 PSI range, but we always run what's on the door with cold tire pressures. I then drove the car around a bit, charged the vehicle a bit, and now we're here charging it up to 100% on a DC fast charger. Now, thankfully, Hyundai Kia stuff does give us OBD access, so we're able to see the temperature of the cells, the temperature, of course, of the battery pack, so that we know, hey, this thing's in good operating condition. We're ready to go to get the most out of it, and we're pretty much there. We're in the high 20-degree Celsius range for the cells, and I'm just running the air conditioning in the car as it completes charging here at about 96, 97% state of charge as we're getting ready to go. To show you around the car a little bit, slick top, no sunroof. Even though it's built on the same chassis as the Ioniq 5, I don't actually remember if it's longer or shorter, but there's a couple inches between them. The EV6, of course, is one of the better electric cars in the market, I would say. Why is it not letting me into the car? Let me find the keys. Key's pretty cool. It's got a little lock function over here. Okay, I've hit unlock multiple times and it doesn't want to let me in. Maybe it's because I left it running. I'll show you in the car on this side. How about that? These door handles are a little bit awkward, I have to say. I'm not into them personally. Here it is. Looks pretty good. Light color interior. Key not in vehicle. We know we're at 99%, so we better finish up, get in the car, and get going here pretty soon Looks pretty awesome. Let's load up and head out for the 70-mile-per-hour test. Well, we're just finishing up and we're ready to go. I actually unplugged the car briefly because it was charging too fast up top, and then I'll re-plug it in and get it up to 100% before we start off, of course. This vehicle is rated at 274 miles in the EPA cycle, which is significantly more than the Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive. I believe that's 256. So I'm hoping we see some good results here, but we need to talk about the wind. I'm going to overlay the wind map here right now, and that is a bummer. You know, normally I like to find the warmest day, well, assuming it's not too hot, at least in the winter time, the warmest day with the least amount of wind. And unfortunately today there is some significant wind, at least for the first half of the test. As we start to go east towards Nebraska, it will basically go down to no wind whatsoever. But, you know, we're going to do a loop style test, even though we're going to get hit from the side. You know, it's not a direct north-south or east-west wind. So hopefully it balances out to us on a loop, but you can never totally counteract a side wind, unfortunately. And well, that's definitely going to impact results a little bit here. So let's keep that in mind. There will be more opportunities to range test this car in the future if we need to. But overall, again, tire pressure set, vehicle will be charged to 100%. We have a nice driver-only AC mode as per our testing procedures. We have to keep the climate control in the eco setting. The vehicle does have an eco mode, and we'll have the climate control in eco as long as there's a temperature adjustment. Certain vehicles like Rivian, like the BMW i3s, for example, with Eco Pro Plus, that you can actually shut off the climate conditioning. As per our procedures, we always keep the conditioning on, but we do warm up or cool down the cabins while connected to the charger ahead of time, and that's pretty much what we're doing here. So what do you say we charge it up to 100% to full until it kicks off? We'll reset the trip computers, and then we'll hit the road. We have just completed at 100% state of charge. It pulls pretty hard up top, and we're ready to head out on the test. It says 100%, and it says 0 kilowatts going into it. So we are absolutely topped up. Connector in the back of the car. Love the location here. Personally, I think it's a great connector, and I like the way that the connector's machined. The ports slide in pretty nicely. It's really nice. I can hit this little button and whoop, pretty slick. All right, I turned climate control off for now so we don't burn any juice, but let's just make sure we have everything set the way we need to. We're gonna run eco mode, vehicle on, the live stream guys are here, regen in level 3. Let's push and hold OK to reset our accumulated info. We twist this into drive, and we're ready to go. And we start our test. We have 2,641 miles on the odometer. It's a pretty fresh battery pack on this particular car. Really, I'm a big EV6 fan and Ioniq 5. I love this eGMP stuff. Perhaps I'll do like a little review of this car, even though I already have, but now that it's had its place in the market. Oh, we got to click climate control back on to auto in the lowest fan speed, driver only 68. All set properly. Ooh, nice Kia K5 right there. Man, Kia is just killing it with design language recently, aren't they? Really good stuff. So let's hop on to the highway. I love that we get these little screens here. This one has highway drive assist 2, I believe. A failed air suspension on an L322 Range Rover off in the distance. I think we can squeeze in front of this truck. Here we go. And that will help with results slightly. Let's just make sure we are running in rear wheel drive mode. So we are, you can see the front motor's completely disconnected here. And we are gonna merge onto the highway I-25 North as we normally do, up to 70 miles an hour. And our goal here is we are going to hit 70 miles an hour at the end of the on-ramp as usual. And you can see it actually it connects the front motor for regen, and so it puts the power back in and then we'll re-disconnect. It's sort of a dog clutch situation, which is really neat. And that's just the nature of having permanent magnet motors. You can't physically shut off a permanent magnet motor truly to have, you know, almost no torque load on the vehicle. So you can disconnect it if you want to. And that's what, you know, the Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis have done with the eGMP platform. It's really, I think, a magical platform. These cars are just truly stellar, really, really good. I checked battery temps. Again, we are at good temperatures here for the range test, just about 30 degrees Celsius in the battery pack. And off we go. Gentle accelerations up to 70 miles an hour. I've already confirmed that 70 miles an hour indicated is a true 70 miles per hour GPS. Another nice thing of highway drive assist here in Hyundai Kia vehicles is you can do your steering assistant separate from your adaptive cruise control, which I think is a really nice thing. We got to just get a couple more miles an hour out of it. 68, 69, 70. Let's lock it in. Boom. HDA on, this here, and we're good to go. The vehicle will make automatic lane changes, and we need it to, so come on, because we got to get by this U-Haul. Back up to 70. There it goes, all on its own. That is just awesome. Keep hands on steering wheel, don't worry. The U-Haul's coming into our lane. We'll just scooch over for them. This vehicle also has lane scooching, so if it does notice something like that, or if we're next to a truck, it will actually automatically scooch over in our lane. You can see it's making auto lane changes back to the right. And off we go. I'll update you along the way, of course, at different percentage milestones, usually every 25%, something like that. And looking forward to heading out, and we just got to battle some wind, unfortunately. We have crossed over 90% state of charge. We just hit it, and we've already done 20 miles, and that is with the brunt of the headwind hitting us. You can see here, climate control, I actually raised it to 70 degrees just because it was actually getting pretty cold, and we don't need it to be that cold, just need it to be comfortable. Oh, we're down to 89 now. So I'm expecting, based off of this initial 10%, somewhere around 200 miles in this test. We'll just have to see. We're almost to Wyoming. I can almost see the sign right over here. Almost to Wyoming. And, we've just taken the brunt of the wind. And so from here, it actually should be a little bit more efficient heading east, because we have a little bit more of an easterly wind. And looking forward to seeing how this car does. This is not a great indication, but there is the great state of Wyoming just across this border. And let's head off into it. And we might even see Nebraska. We have just passed 75% state of charge, and we have traveled 66.7 miles. We're at 74% right now. We're averaging 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. So really comfortable test. We're about an hour into it as expected, and just cruising along over some pretty harsh, bumpy pavement. And I have to say, the vehicle's extremely quiet. It's extremely comfortable, and it just feels so well built. These Kia EV6 Ioniq 5 cars that I've spent a lot of time in now really are spectacular from not only an EV engineering standpoint, but also a ride quality and NVH standpoint, and even driving dynamics. I'm excited to get this EV6 out on a back road and film a driving review of it. It's just a wonderful package that you just can't go wrong. A lot of people ask me, would I buy an EV6 or an Ioniq 5? I think the answer is, what shape do you like the most? Personally, I would probably go Ioniq 5 because I think it looks way cooler. But Timon, for example, said he liked the EV6 more. At the end of the day, it's the same hardware. This is probably a hair more efficient, I would guess, by the time we finish our test, just because it's lower to the ground, a little bit more of a sleek design, although I don't really like that word sleek, but it's a little bit more of an aerodynamic design. And a lot of people are also complaining on the live stream about the lack of the rear windshield wiper, which is a huge omission both in this car and the Ioniq 5. What's up with that? Let's get some rear windshield wipers in these things. Come on, Kia and Hyundai. Other than that, the thing's really rock solid. It's hard to find faults with these cars. Welcome to Nebraska, the good life. Here we go. We're out of the major wind, and efficiency is looking great. Really enjoying it. 72%. We've traveled 72 miles. How about that? Absolutely beautiful day out here. 67 degrees and sunny. We are just getting to that point in the drive where we need to think about turning around. We're at 57% state of charge, and I think we're going to take the next exit, which is going to leave us a little bit of buffer to get back, especially with the winds being a little bit from the side, a little unpredictable. We should get a little bit more assistance on the way back, but 107.9 miles at 57%. That's our exit up ahead where we'll be making our loop, and I have to say, this is just absolutely so comfortable. If I haven't explained it yet in this video, one of the reasons that we run a loop style test is to counteract elevation and wind throughout the drive. And while we never are in laboratory environments and we can't have a perfect head and tailwind to counteract all the time, we do the best we can to make sure we have an even playing field with the EVs that we do test. And yeah, really impressed here with the EV6. So we're going to take this next exit right up here. We would not be able to make it to the one farther up. It's about, I would say, 10 or 15 miles to the next exit, and we don't have an extra 20 miles-ish to burn with 7%, just with a marginal safety buffer. So let's flip around here in Potter at exit 38, and then we'll head back towards Wellington, Colorado. And we are taking our exit right here in Potter, Nebraska. Beautiful skies today, almost no wind where we are, which is nice. Just kicking it off of 70 miles an hour there. Really love this turn signal approach. The driver assistance is just dead accurate, dead straight. Really is probably the least intrusive driver assistance system there is out there. It is just so good. And we're just regenning down in level 3 regen. Again, not running iPedal to keep everything disconnected. So I can see some cows off in the distance too, which is awesome. And let's take a look. We do have a car coming from the right. This is the first time we've ever seen a car in Nebraska at a turnaround spot. First time for everything, I guess. And then we'll be merging back onto 80 West right over here, and we'll be heading back up to a 70 mile per hour constant speed as we usually do. So let's turn left. This electric company is called Watts Electric. How creative. I feel like that's every third electric company's name. Anyway, continuing up to speed. Not enough cows out here. We need to see some more cows, that's for sure. Just gentle accelerations as much as possible. I don't like these off-ramps that go basically under the highway. I like the ones that go over the highway, because then you always have gravity to your advantage for acceleration and deceleration, actually. And the more power we pull, the more heat loss there is. But these are really efficient systems, so it's not like it's that huge of a deal. Almost back up to 70 miles an hour. This car is just so quiet on the highway. It makes almost no noise. And there we are, locked in on Highway Drive Assist 2 at 70 miles an hour. We've turned around at 56% state of charge, and back to Colorado we go. Once we get closer to the charging station down in Wellington, we can loop around on I-25. Although it will be a little bit more windy, it's a little bit safer to be down there by the charging station to do that stuff. And then we'll have a better idea of what the vehicle will come in with. But for now, it's predicting well over 200 miles. Well, let's hope it goes over 200 miles. We wouldn't be able to make it back if it didn't. I know my friend and colleague, Tom Malogny, only managed 195 miles in this car's sister car, the Ioniq 5, in cold temperatures. But here it's warm, and I think the EV6 is slightly slipperier, slightly more aerodynamic, and we were able to achieve 227.4 miles in our Ioniq 5 test. So I'm hoping this thing does at least 227. But I think it's going to come in somewhere right around there. We have just hit 50% state of charge. We've traveled 124 miles, but we're on the very high side of 50%. The car's predicting 129 miles remaining, which pretty much adds up since we're on the high side of 50. And wow, so this thing might actually do mid 200s. We'll see. We will see. We got perfect weather right now. 65 degrees, sunny, no wind where we are. As we head back towards Cheyenne, we'll definitely get a little bit more wind. So let's keep going in the EV6 wind all-wheel drive. Just crossing back into Wyoming, and on the other side of Pine Bluffs here, the wind is going to kick back up. So we'll see how well that goes. I guess this guy's stopping to take a picture in front of the Wyoming sign. That's always fun on a road trip to do, for sure. And we've driven just about 149 miles, and the car is predicting 101, which would put us right at 250 miles on the nose if all continues to be the same. We're at 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, a little bit better efficiency on the return, but we do have some wind coming in up this side as well. I guess hard to say if it's going to be helpful or not, but we'll just see what happens. We have now hit 25% state of charge. We've traveled 186 miles. We have 59 miles projected remaining. We're just counteracting the wind that we did on the trip. It seems to be doing pretty well. 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. We're about to make our loop back onto I-25 off of I-80 and head south towards Wellington. and looking forward to seeing how this thing will do. So far, the driver assistance has been wonderful, all is good, and the skies are beautiful. And we are just taking the exit for I-25 to head down to Fort Collins. Vehicle handles pretty well, definitely looking better than that F-150 in front of us around the off-ramp. And yeah, let's go see what it does on the way down. 191 miles traveled so far. Absolutely stunning views off into the distance here, coming almost into Colorado. The border's just around the corner over here. Absolutely beautiful. And we have gone actually past where we started. We have 11% remaining, and we're going to continue looping. We're probably going to go past our charger one more time at 70 miles an hour, and just probably one final turnaround spot before we rein it in and pull it in. But overall, have to say, very impressed with the range right now. Right now we're tracking for over 250 miles, which would be good, with just amazing views off into the distance. So let's not get run over here. We will head back towards where we started, and then that's how we will know how far this car goes. But we have to go back to the starting point with a completely empty battery pack. We have just hit 5% state of charge. We're completing our final loop before we head back to the charging station. At that point, we're actually going to run up and down the frontage road at 70 miles an hour, just because the exits aren't spaced perfectly apart for this test for what we need. So the frontage road looks empty, and we should be able to continue 70 miles an hour up and down through there. Anyway, let's take the highway back, and we're at 5% state of charge, and we're going to run this thing all the way to 0, and probably a little bit below, of course. You know how we do it. And we are merging back on the highway for the last time of this test. Really looking forward to seeing what we get here. And then, of course, that frontage road is going to be the perfect spot to run it all the way out. We have the low battery indication just above the auto hold indication over there. All is looking good. Loving the driver assistance in this vehicle. Man, I really don't know what to expect here, but I'm thinking we're going to do more than 250. I really do. Let's lock it back in at 70. There we go. Nice. And at 240.6 miles traveled, we are pulling off the highway here in Wellington, but it's not the end of our 70 mile an hour portion. We're going to do our best to keep maintaining 70 up on the frontage road. We're going to try a different section than I normally have. And let's see if we can run it all the way out on the frontage road over here. We just need to be mindful that we still have to cross this road to get back to the charger right over there. Let's go see what this thing does. And we are cruising down the frontage road at just about 70 miles an hour. We have it locked in. It's just awesome that we're able to get this much distance truly at 70. I think I'm going to use this frontage road thing more for our range test. We are at, again, 1% state of charge, 2 miles remaining. Let's hope we can go a little bit below 0, because I think we're more than a couple miles away from the charger, but hey, that's all about the fun. I think we'll back it down now at just to about 60 miles an hour, just so we don't pull that much voltage out of the pack. And that's normally what we do at the bottom of range test, is we'll go, you know, a couple miles an hour under 70. So let's just continue along here, because right now it doesn't look like we would hit 250 miles according to the screen. But that's okay. The car is going to do what it does. I'm just going to basically bring it until it feels like it's going to die, and hopefully we'll make it back to the charging station. But we're still out here in the middle of nowhere with 1% state of charge. The charging station is now behind us, and we are still going. We know of someone who just got about, I don't know, 10 or 15 miles past 0 in their car, and I don't think we need to stretch it that far, but the throttle's still pretty responsive, and we're at 249 miles, so I say we keep going at 0% until the throttle gets really squishy. And after a couple more loops on back roads, we are still at 0. I'm feeling the throttle get pretty dang squishy here. That's wide open. And it's still accelerating, but not very much. I see a leaf at the charger. So what do you say we back this sucker in, call it a range test at about 254 miles. Let's get the final number after the reversing figure into reverse. And we're going to use a different split unit than this guy. So we have to use chargers on this side because they're power load shared. And back in we go. And into reverse, 254 miles, zeroed out, 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Took just about 4 hours of driving at 70 miles an hour constant. Really impressive range here, considering the Ioniq 5 went such a portion less, about 25 miles less than this. That's pretty good here. Let's get it charging. And here we go, CCS connector around this portion here and into the back of the car. Get some good juice. It deserves it. And we are charging here at 51 kilowatts at 0% state of charge. Very nice. Just as a little experiment, I think I've had at least issues with Ioniq 5 on all three of these ChargePoint CPE 250s, except the one on the end seemed to have given it max power. I'm going to go over there, plug in, and see if we can get more than 51 kilowatts. And here we go, plugging in the EV6 now at the other ChargePoint station that I know this one has given us max power for some reason. Very curious if it'll do more than this one over here. And if it does, I'm not quite sure why, because these are technically paired and those are technically paired as far as at least my testing has gone. So let's take a look, and it would mimic what I've experienced with Ioniq 5 if we can get max power here. So let's do some looking here. Charging started. It's funny how it says that to you. Here we go to our live stream as well. I'll pull them around. How about that? Well, there you have it. Thanks for sticking with me until the end. The full range test of the Kia EV6 Wind all-wheel drive with tech pack, 19-inch wheels, everything normal, all good. A little bit of wind in the test, but fitting for the EV6 Wind. Didn't seem to affect the test too much. Did pretty well. I'm impressed. And it goes a long ways past zero. Look, don't rely on that in your car, especially as it ages over time, because BMS sway can happen, and I'm not sure if they're of Kia and Hyundai's sort of degradation strategy, if they just eat into that bottom buffer. But either way, pretty impressive stuff here with the EV6. Love this car, gonna continue driving it, and more to come. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.